Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fertility Confidence Podcast. I am going to share a story with you guys today. We shared a reel on our page last month that got a lot of attention, and I feel as though it's a really good story to kind of like go a bit deeper into, but also able to share how we actually supported our client in getting pregnant. So if you've seen the reel, we talked about how one of our clients came to work with us, secondary infertility for 2 years, and she was pregnant in just 8 weeks and after joining FCM. And like, how did we do it? And the post really focused on, she was told she had unexplained secondary infertility, but the reality was that they hadn't really done a whole heck of a lot in terms of testing. And this is such a common problem we are seeing in the fertility space, not just with secondary infertility, but with primary infertility as well, being told it's unexplained after really, truly, usually not doing a very great look. But in her instance, and in most secondary infertility cases, I find the unfortunate reality being that because you've already had kids, they just sort of assume it's going to happen again and we don't need to dig that deep. And so for her, she had a very surface level look at what we would consider a full fertility workup. Her partner had no testing done whatsoever. They hadn't even been offered to check if her tubes were still open. And we're just told it's unexplained because of your age. You should probably just go straight into IVF. And they decided that just didn't sit right with them, that they weren't opposed to the option, especially because it had been 2 years. But she really felt like in her heart of hearts that, my body's done it before. I know it can do it again. It just needs more support right now. And that's how she found Fertility Confidence Method. So this might be something similar to your story too, where again, regardless if it's primary or secondary infertility, but just feeling as though you're being pushed towards a treatment that doesn't feel appropriate in your timeline. And this is something that we see, unfortunately, quite a bit. And if you've listened to the podcast for a while, or you follow me over on Instagram, and if you don't, come find me at Fertility Confidence Method. But you'll know that I am not against ART, assisted reproductive technology. I'm often recommending my clients to advocate for medications or to advocate for treatment cycles. For me, it's about gold standard of care. And sometimes the gold standard of care is to move quickly into those types of treatments. And there's always that asterisk to ultimately you get to decide, right? You get to decide how fast you go. Some people might be really eager and willing to jump into that, and others might not. And so for me, it really comes down to being able to make a true informed decision of what's best for you, for your body, and for your family. And that the only way that can happen is if you have all the information. And so when we're seeing clinics pushing things like IVF on couples who have really only done an AMH check and a semen analysis and not much else, like that's just not enough information to make those decisions. So that's where having someone in your corner to help advocate for like what else is going on here? Where do I need to dig deeper can just help bring you some of that peace of mind, really, but also potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars, and not necessarily by not needing IVF. Maybe you do, but hopefully by not needing multiple trial rounds to get it to work, and or saving you a lot of just time, money, and hope in trying other things. If that does end up being, what the labs, what your body is telling us is the best statistical option. But I digress here. So this client in particular was told she had unexplained infertility. IVF was likely her best option. But in terms of a workup, they really hadn't had much to go off of. They checked her AMH. They told her it was low and that she didn't have a lot of eggs left and she should hurry up. They checked her basic like CBC and iron. They did her normal public health screen. So like it looks like she had lots of labs done, but it was basically just, looking to make sure she doesn't have HIV or syphilis or gonorrhea. They did not check any hormones whatsoever. They did a TSH, but no other thyroid workup. And they basically said, everything looks good except your AMH is low. So IVF is your best bet. When you look at a workup to give answers, we simply need more information than that. So I wanted to walk you through actually what we did with this client to help her get pregnant in just 8 weeks after 2 years of trying, which is insane. And still to this day, even though truly this happens every single month, I'm always a little shocked. And in our company, we have like a celebration thread for all of my coaches and myself, so that when one of our clients gets pregnant, we share it in there and we can all celebrate them. And we've seen this like recurring theme of women who've been trying for over a year who just haven't had the right support actually getting pregnant very quickly once they have the right support. And it's so fascinating, but it also never gets old, right? Like every time it happens, I'm like, how did that happen? Like I'm still shocked, even though I know what we're doing is good, right? But it's still a little bit shocking. So the first thing we do with all of our clients, it's called phase 1. We do what I call discovery. And it's the boring part. It's the boring part really, but it's the part that's really crucial for us to be able to build out your personal care plan, but also for us to know where do we go from here? Because every couple comes into Fertility Confidence Method at a different stage of their journey. Some people haven't been trying for very long and are being very proactive. We love that for you. Others have been at it for a while. Some people have tried some medicated cycles. Others just aren't there yet. So we need to know, where are you at? What have you done up until this point? And what is your body telling us that can guide us to where to dig deeper? Because at the end of the day, the whole point of the discovery phase is to truly figure out the root cause issue. We want to know why. You want to know why, right? That is the biggest question. Whether or not you've been trying for 3 months or 3 years, it's always, why isn't this working? That is what we want to know. And sometimes we can't find it. Let me explain that. Sometimes the root cause is likely hidden so deep and underneath other complexities, and or medicine just isn't perfect yet. And I think the big things that sit in this realm of like still maybe unknown is the immunological piece. We don't fully understand how the immune system works when it comes to infertility and how it interplays. And we're seeing more and more research. And I do think we will start to peel back the layers here and have more support. But that's probably one place where we start to make assumptions versus like knowing for sure. But there are lots of things we need to look into in terms of trying to dig deeper into that root cause. So inside discovery, we want to learn about your journey. I want to know everything that has been going on. I want to know all about your cycle, your whole health history, your gut health, your family history. And then I want to review the labs that you have had done. Because a lot of times there's pieces of the puzzle that are missing that are like low-hanging fruit. Right? Like if you come in and you're like, I've done everything. And then we look at your lab reports and go, well, you have, done a lot, but XYZ hasn't been assessed yet. Let's dig there first. Those are the low-hanging fruits, the really easy things. Blood work is typically a very easy thing for us to get our hands on in one way or another. And I know that that's, maybe not how your current care team makes it feel, but we can get those things done for you. Sometimes we are having to help our clients advocate with their care provider, or if you are in the US, you are very fortunate to have a lot of direct patient to lab company options. And if you're in Canada, we don't have that option, but you have other practitioners that can help to assist you in lab work. So figuring out first and foremost from what you've had done so far and what your body's telling us, what is the next step in terms of discovery? How do we dig down into that next layer to get you the answers that you are searching for? Because we can't make impactful change without knowing the problem. We can do some good, absolutely, but we can definitely make bigger impact if we know the problem. So we want to dig a bit deeper there. We also want to dig a little bit into your cycle. We do teach and ask our clients to track their cycle. Some do it for a few cycles and then it's just not for them. And that's fine. We're always going to have that flexibility there. Others continue on, but we want to get a gauge of when are you ovulating? Are you timing intercourse appropriately? I know it seems so basic, but it is an issue. We do need to review and make sure. And we want to see the health of your luteal phase. So we just really, truly, phase one is really about learning you, your body, and your story so far, and then giving you that next step of like, how do we dig deeper? So this is what we did with her. We went through all of her labs. And we found that, first off, she hadn't really had a big assessment done. So we went back, we looked at hormones, we looked at insulin, we looked at vitamin D. We actually did a cortisol test with her because of some of her symptoms, which is not something we do with every single client, but we did with her. And we did find that her cortisol was quite low. So we wanted to work on that. So we went and dug into these other pieces. We also did ask her husband to do a semen analysis. And so I want to just circle back to this from a secondary perspective. If you guys are in that camp of secondary infertility, remember that lots can change in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, however long it's been since you got pregnant before. And just because your partner or husband has fathered a child with you or with someone else, doesn't matter, does not mean there is nothing wrong with the sperm. We still want and need that information. This is a whole couple approach. They need to be involved. And that was a big piece that was missing for them. Now, because they got pregnant so quickly, we actually did not get that information. But he was trying to get it through his family care doctor. So we gave him some at-home options. We said, this is go ask your family care physician, see what they say. So he was waiting for his appointment with his family care physician. So we unfortunately didn't get that, not that we needed it, but didn't get that information for him. But I wanted to keep that in here as we do build out our plans based on a whole couple approach, because fertility is not just a female issue. And whether or not you have kids already, that doesn't negate looking at male factor fertility still. So I want to just put that out there for anyone dealing with secondary. Phase 2, then we work into what we call our signature accelerator process. And when we have our quick pregnancies like this, when they're under that 3-month mark, personally, I'm really attributing them to this process, because yes, we had her on her plan and supplements for about 6 weeks, in maybe 7, maybe 5, maybe a little bit less. But, and yes, those are definitely going to be playing a role, but that foundational groundwork that we built through that accelerator process really quickly, hard hitting at the beginning, is what I really do feel like speeds the process up for a lot of these women. So we take our research and our knowledge on those core foundational pillars of fertility. And what I mean by that is we are looking at nutrition, movement, mindfulness, and sleep, and how those things interplay with hormones, how they interplay with other aspects of your fertility markers, and where do you stand currently in terms of those health habits, and how do we make improvements. This is what the accelerator phase is really doing, is walking you through why these pieces are important, where do you stand, and how do we make impactful change where you need to. And again, this is that personalization piece, right? Not everyone is the same. You might be someone who sleeps really well, who cherishes your sleep, who has like a very strict routine, gets to bed, gets their 8 hours, feels great in the morning. But I might be someone that doesn't do that, right? So I'm going to need more plan around sleep. I'm going to need more goals and habits around sleep, and you're not. So this is where we get to tweak and change the recommendations based on where you're at, what your body needs. And the other thing I think is really important, if you hear that list and go, oh God, I'm not good at nutrition, movement, mindfulness, or sleep, like I need to work on all 4. We don't need to do everything at once. And I think that's a really big piece to remember, is you don't have to make all of the changes at one time to make impactful change. And so through our accelerator process, we weave together the foundational pieces of fertility that optimizes your success with a specific cycle syncing method that is for fertility potential. So we're basically teaching you really, like, at its essence, to listen and follow the ebbs and flows of your cycle and build that foundational mastery to ultimately optimize your chances of conceiving. And since we've included this accelerator phase inside Fertility Confidence Method, we've seen a dramatic increase in the speed of our pregnancies, which is really, really great. Before, we were kind of doing it all at once, whereas now I'm like, let's lay the foundations and then let's work on the hormones. Like, let's do this first, because then when we circle back to work on the hormones, the body can actually listen. And the cool thing is if your progesterone is low, for example, sure, there's supplements we can do to help with that. But if you're not eating enough, if you're not getting enough healthy fats and protein, if you're not sleeping, if your stress is really high and we're not managing that, no amount of supplement is going to build progesterone stored like in your body. You just aren't. So we need the foundations in order for the supplements to actually be able to do their job, which is why a lot of times in the fertility space, when women are not conceiving or they're struggling, they're going to the internet. The internet is telling them to take X, Y, and Z. And so they're doing that, but we're skipping steps when we go that route. And this is where the accelerator process actually comes into play. You can also grab our accelerator process inside Syncing for Fertility. That is what it is. It is the first 6 weeks of Fertility Confidence Method and walking you through our signature accelerator process and how to incorporate that into your life. So I'll pop a link for that down below if you're interested. But it is the foundational mastery. The other piece in phase 2 is again where the whole couple approach comes into play. We need to have a male infertility conversation. So regardless if you've had testing or not, sperm health is so important. And if you've had testing and the testing looks great, like all the numbers are optimal, not just normal, and there is a difference there, then that doesn't mean you don't have to make any changes. Because the reality is that we don't get to see all of the aspects of sperm in a semen analysis. We don't actually get to see the overall DNA integrity of that sperm, the overall health of that sperm. We just get to see how much is there, how are they shaped, and how fast do they swim? And do they swim straight or do they swim in circles, which is very common. So there's more to it than just a semen analysis. We actually talk about this. I think it's episode 98, but I might be wrong. And I'll throw it in the show notes where we talk about like it's more than just, we have to go deeper than just a semen analysis, and that making the lifestyle changes for men is equally as important as for women in terms of the overall quality of the sperm. So when you're going through your accelerator phase, there's that male component as well that we want to make sure we're utilizing so that both sides of the couple are optimizing. That third phase we actually call optimization, and this is where that strategic supplementation comes into play. So we're going to take what we learned in discovery, we're going to build on top of the foundational mastery that you've done in phase 2, and we're going to build you out a personal care plan. So for her specifically, for the client that started this whole story, we did find that she had mild insulin resistance. She said, she has a couple kids. She hasn't been eating very well the last few years. Toddler diet, right? So we've all been there. Her nutrient stores were on the lower side in terms of like her D, her B vitamins, her irons. We wanted to get those up. And we really I looked at kind of like what she was eating and said, you know what, you're not eating enough. Let's really bump up those calories, make sure you're getting enough fat and protein. You're going to get so much beautiful energy from that. You're going to feel like a different human. It's going to be fantastic. Let's get you moving your body intentionally for you. So like keep going for walks with your kiddos, but what else can we add in there? And we go through movement and what you should be doing in our accelerator process. So using those guidelines, and then we built her out a strategic care plan based on that. So based on working on egg quality and based on reducing her insulin resistance and improving her nutrient stores. So that's what she started. We also put her partner on a couple of things as like a precaution because we didn't have levels. So from an overall quality perspective, we didn't want to leave that out. We wanted to make sure we were, again, making quick, impactful change. And quick, impactful change it was, because in just 8 weeks, they got a positive pregnancy test. They are now like months into their pregnancy at this point, feeling great. But even before that, even that first cycle after making the adjustments with us in FCM, she was like, I have so much more energy. I feel great. My skin looks great. Her cycle, her luteal phase was a little on the shorter side. It had lengthened out. So it was a really good testament to kind of like, honestly, the power of probably calories out of all of the things that made big change for her. But the beautiful part was that she really dove deep into mastering those foundations and doing it for her and herself and her health and her kids. And these are all concepts that are going to take her through her pregnancy and postpartum in terms of living the healthiest life that she can with her family. So here's the piece I kind of want you to remember. There's a few things. First and foremost, if you've had a really basic as fuck workup done, there's probably more to your story, and you are worth investigating that. If your heart is not telling you that you're ready for the next step that whoever your practitioner is giving you is, and you just think that there's more, there is probably more. And we can dig deeper into that. There's more to a fertility journey than taking a lot of supplements. Okay. There is a foundational piece that has to be put into play that honestly, over the last couple of years, I truly feel like is probably more impactful than a lot of the supplements that we use. And so really taking that time to nourish and take care of yourself first and foremost is going to be important. And we could talk about this for hours, right? Like this is the essence of what we do in terms of all the different facets at which the fertility piece is impacting your life. But this is just the basic core of what Fertility Confidence Method is. We're going to dig deep. We're going to find the root cause. We're going to help you master the foundations. We're going to take a whole couple approach. We're going to take a research-backed approach, but we're also going to be there to answer your questions, which is so, so important. And then we're going to optimize and we're going to build you out a strategic supplement plan, not a piecemeal scrapbooking plan based on things you read off the internet, but what is your body actually needing in this moment? And that is the power of support, right? This client in particular, they could have kept going. They could have done IVF like their clinic wanted them to. And maybe it would have worked. Maybe it would have overthrown these other pieces. Or maybe the fact that her nutrient stores were low were going to put her at a high risk for miscarriage. Maybe the fact that she had mild insulin resistance was enough to increase her risk of miscarriage. Maybe her not eating enough was going to mean her lining never did what it wanted, like what we wanted to do, and implantation never happened, and she was having failed transfers. All of these pieces that we uncovered in the short time we had together before she did get pregnant, all of those pieces still would have impacted her journey, even if she went straight to IVF. So this part becomes more important regardless of where you're at in your journey. But what I really want people to start to understand is it's never too early to get help. And there's nothing wrong with being proactive. And even if you're only a couple of months into your journey, by getting that support, we're not admitting defeat, or we're not admitting that something's wrong or that your body's broken. We're simply just truly trying to optimize your chance of success each and every single cycle. And who wouldn't want that, right? Like, let's be proactive. Let's have these conversations before we need to have them, before we're even using the word struggle. I don't want you to feel like you're struggling before you come into FCM. I want you to come in with the headspace of, I want to make sure I'm doing absolutely everything within my power to make a baby. And that is exactly the grounds and basis that we've built FCM off of, giving you the confidence to know and feel that you are doing absolutely everything that you can to make a baby. And then everyone's journey from there is going to look a little bit different. And that's where the personalization comes into play. So I'm super happy for this client and super, super happy for the speed at which we were able to be successful for her. And I'm wishing her all the best on her pregnancy journey. She's still hanging out with us inside Pregnancy Confidence, which is really exciting. Our like sister graduate program after FCM. And if you guys at all have any questions about what working with us looks like, you can schedule a free call over at downloads.kelseyduncan.com/results. And I'll put that link in the show notes for you. Get all of your questions answered. If you're curious if this is something that would help support you, we are here to open and have that conversation honestly. We don't work with everybody. So if we do feel like FCM is not a good fit for you, we'll walk you through what another good option might be and just answer any questions that you have. Okay. I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your week, and I will see you in the next episode.